On November 24th, so last Monday, Disneyland Paris hosted an event with a bunch of news around Disney Adventure World and the world of Frozen, and here is everything you need to know. Welcome to Factor Nostalgia, where we discuss everything theme park then, now, and when. I'm Sarah, and I'm here to talk you through everything that was announced at this week's event at Disneyland Paris. Now, beforehand, they had already mentioned that on the 24th, they would share the official opening date. I thought this was early because before they had said it's going to open in spring. Usually when they say spring, they like to keep, a little bit of flexibility around it. And I was guessing it was going to be April, May-ish, like late April, May-ish. So I was wrong, which is cool. I can admit that. No problem. I was wrong because when they said that they were going to announce an opening date on November 24th, I thought, okay, so clearly it's going to be sooner than that because that far ahead into the future, they're not going to want to commit to a specific date. And I was right. So we're going to go over all the news, but let's start with what everybody needs to know. Walt Disney Studios will cease to exist, and we will be entering Disney Adventure World on March 29th, 2026. Some people were already expecting this due to a price increase they noticed on the website, sometimes depending on when and how you look and from where. But I would like to remind everybody that this is also around the Easter holidays in Europe, so that always impacts pricing. Nonetheless, we now have an opening date. Great. So if you've already booked your trip, then, good on you. And I hope you booked it, strategically. And if you didn't, I will link to an episode in the show notes about booking your 2026 trip. Now, this one, of course, assumed we didn't know the date yet. But with this newly gathered information, take a re-listen to that and then book your trip. Now, normally when something like this happens, something big opens, there are pass holder preview days or evenings or whatever, and they have announced that these will happen again, but there are no details known yet at the time of recording. So keep an eye on all the pass holder communication if you have one. I don't, so I'm just dependent on like secondhand information here, but keep an eye on it if you are a pass holder because there will be events before March 29th specifically for you. So the people that were invited to this event, because it was invitation only, they got a walkthrough of, the way World of Frozen is looking. They got to walk around Adventure Way, got a tour, got some background information, and I'm going to share everything that I know. And I wasn't there, obviously. But I will share what I know. And we're going to take this as if you would like enter the park and cross Adventure Way towards World of Frozen. And I'm just going to describe what's going to be there. Now, this is an audio version only, so it's relatively spoiler free, but if you don't want to know anything at all, then, this is not your episode. So you've been warned. But before you go, I do want to take a quick moment to interrupt everything right here and ask you that if you enjoy this type of content, not just the news type stuff, but also the background stories, the deep dive stuff like that, I would like to ask you to consider supporting the podcast by becoming a member on Patreon, or if you're Dutch speaking, you can also become a member on petjeaf.com. There are different levels of support that you can commit to, and on Patreon, you can even become a member for free. And what this does is, first of all, it offers you some benefits, depending on which tier you pick. But with those funds, I can keep the podcast alive. And that just means that it will cover stuff like hosting costs and things like that. It's not like I'm going to go on a luxury theme park vacation from the contributions. Also, those aren't the kind of contributions that I'm asking for here. So it's just, if you want to support the podcast, keep this thing going, and become part of a community while you're at it, then I would encourage you to take a look at that. There are links in the show notes, and thank you in advance. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming and the stuff you actually want to hear about. So if you enter the current park a couple months ago, we had the opening of World Premiere. And the idea of World Premiere, of course, was that as you exit it, you walk into your own Disney adventure, hence the name Disney Adventure World. The opinions on this are still, shall we say mixed, but, I can see what they were going for here. So you exit World Premiere, so you walk across World Premiere Plaza, and you walk straight down the middle towards Adventure Way. Now, Adventure Way is essentially a promenade. It's a broad street. It has unique tiling. The lights that have already been visible for a while, if you just peek over the fence a little bit in Walt Disney Studios, they look really nice. They bring a lot of a very nice atmosphere to everything. It's a broad street. It's a promenade. Now, along this promenade, there will be no less than 14, as Disney calls it, culinary experiences. So spots where you can eat, drink, be merry. At least a portion of this, I don't know how many exactly, will be chalet style food spots. So the same stuff that you can find right now at Place de Rémy, over by the Ratatouille ride, or in the main park in Disneyland Park, close to It's a Small World. Where they have in the summer they have the chalet gourmand, and in the winter chalet d'hiver, I think it is. I'm guessing it's going to be similar to that. And another example of stuff like that popping up that we've seen is that near the Toy Story Playland area, there are now also these little chalets that are more playful looking and offer relatively simple foods, burgers, things like that. But to know in detail what they're going to be offering, we simply don't know yet. But 14 is a lot, so must be a long promenade. Now, there's more to do along this promenade than just eat. We were told before that there would be gardens, sort of just greenery to relax, sit, enjoy, And we knew there would be English-style gardens with something inspired by true English stories like Winnie the Pooh, Peter Pan, 101 Dalmatians, Mary Poppins, things like that. But now we know that not only that, we will also have, for example, a Tangled garden and a Toy Story garden. In the Toy Story garden, there will be statues of Woody and Jessie, and there's a bunch of trees that are going to be shaped like toys. That's all the information I have for you. But it seems like fun, why not? And of course, this has to do with, on one side of Adventure Way, there's going to be sort of a split road thingy into Toy Story Playland that we currently do not have. So just a different access point to Toy Story Playland, where there will also be, those statues of Woody and Jessie that are mentioned around the Toy Story garden as well. You can already see them now if you are in the current park. Well, the part of the park that's currently open, and you go on the Toy Story Soldier Drop, the parachute toy soldier drop. I never remember the exact name, but you can peek over the wall then, and you can clearly see the Woody and Jessie statues. Now, as for the Tangled garden, I have no specific details on what'll be in there, but we do know that along the way, there will also be a Tangle-inspired ride, Rapunzel's Tangled Spin, or Réponse Tangled Spin, but, we still call her Rapunzel because we don't really speak French here. And this ride is essentially a teacup ride, but then it's inspired by the lantern scene in the movie. Now, something cool that they did here is that they brought back Mandy Moore, who voiced Rapunzel in the movie, to record the audio announcements for the ride, which I really, really like. I always like when they bring back the original voice cast. So, that made me happy. Now, one thing that has been announced, and we know where they're going to build it, but doesn't appear to be showing up at the same time as the opening of Disney Adventure World, is the Up ride, which is this swinging chair type ride. Something you would see at a carnival, really. It's a filler ride, but it's cool, whatever, and it's themed after Up, which is nice. But the way it's looking right now, just in terms of the communication that Disney has brought out, it's not going to be ready by the time the park or this part of the park opens. So just keep that in mind. In terms of entertainment, they are bringing back a couple of things from the Disney Music Festival that we had this past year. And I don't know if this is going to be something permanent or just for next year. I think there's a good chance it's just for next year. But here's what they're bringing back. During spring, you'll be able to meet Rapunzel and Flynn in their musical encounter. In summer, they will bring back Mary Poppins and the Burly Band. In fall, it'll be Miguel's Latin Festival. And from November onwards, they call it a variety of character meetings. And in addition to all of that, the Disney Marching Band, which is led by Minnie Mouse and a bunch of live musicians, will parade down Adventure Way. So this is something that we saw last year as well, but that was over in the main park at the time. Now, once you pass the Rapunzel ride, you will see a big, very interesting looking building, which is the Regal View Restaurant and Lounge. You can currently see some of it, like the tops of it, if you walk towards Card's Road Trip and peek over the fences there as far as you can. I don't know how tall you are, but you should be able to see a little bit of the building. Anyway, this restaurant is, as mentioned before, a table service restaurant featuring character dining. It has princesses and it will offer breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And of course, from some of the seats, you're going to have a regal view because that's what they named it. What will this view be of? It will be of Adventure Bay, which we'll get to in a moment. Now, of course, you want to know which princesses you can meet here, right? Don't worry, I got you. So, the princesses you can meet here are, first of all, just the princesses, no princes. They are Belle from Beauty and the Beast, Merida from Brave, Jasmine from Aladdin, Aurora from Sleeping Beauty, Mulan of same name, and Ariel from The Little Mermaid. Now, some of these you could already find in Auberge de Cendrillon, but Belle and Mulan are a little bit more difficult to meet. Now, Belle, I think, does do encounters in the Princess Pavilion. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm also fairly certain that Mulan never did before. So this is a good time and place to meet them. They haven't specified how many princesses you'll meet on one evening or what the price point will be, but judging by the price of Auberge de Cendrillon as well as Table de Lumière, which are the other princess dining options, with Auberge being $100 and Lumière being 120, and this is a new restaurant, I probably think around the 120 point for adults. That's probably safe to budget for. Again, nothing officially announced, but just for budgeting purposes, I want to give you this information. So apart from the view and the princesses, what makes this regal? Well, there are ornamental plates in the restaurant that were inspired by the princesses, obviously, and they were handmade, and here's a little fun fact for the Dutchies, by Royal Delft, which is, the porcelain manufacturer company we have here in the Netherlands. That is also the official supplier of the Dutch royal family. So that's cool. You may have also noticed that this isn't called a restaurant, it's called Restaurant and Lounge. Why? Because yes, there's a restaurant area, but there's also a bar area, which is more of the lounge type area. It's the very first bar like this that they have in the parks, like in the physical Disney parks in Paris. And the way we should see it, it's a champagne bar because, of course, it does have to have a touch of elegance. So you can't just have like craft beers and everything. No, it's going to be a champagne bar. I don't know if they're going to have craft beers actually, now that I'm saying it out loud. Well, the point is they characterize it as a champagne bar. As far as the food offerings, we don't know anything specifically yet about the restaurant. We do know that there will be vegetarian, vegan options, gluten-free options, lactose-free options. So they did really try to think of everything with this one, which is great. Now, right outside the restaurant is the focal point really of this whole area, or this, not really the focal point. I don't think that's right. More or less the center of this new expansion, which is Adventure Bay, a huge lake that you're able to walk around. But of course, there's also stuff to be done on the lake, or seen on the lake, I should say, not done by us. Disney has announced that this lake will feature not one, but two shows. There will be a daytime show that will be performed multiple times throughout the day, as well as a nighttime show. Now, the nighttime show they had announced before, right? But the daytime show is news to most of us. This daytime show will be called The Celebration in Arendelle, and will be, of course, in the Arendelle Harbor, which is probably closer to one side of the lake. I'm not entirely sure how that would look. It's about 15 minutes, and they have three barges, one centered around Kristoff and Olaf, one around the villagers, and one with the actual sisters Anna and Elsa. There's, of course, going to be a brand new song for this show. And the cool thing is that they brought back the original voice cast again to record the song for this show, which, I'm into stuff like that. But I mentioned that before. But it bears repeating. I'm into stuff like that, and it makes me happy. Then there's the nighttime show. This one will be called Disney Cascade of Lights. It's a 360-degree show, which means that essentially from anywhere you're standing around the lake, you'll be able to get a good view. It also has its own song, We Can Be Heroes, and it'll feature scenes from Mulan, Hercules, Moana, Zootopia, Up, and a bunch of Marvel stuff. And it should be a combination of drones, fireworks, water, show, projection, things like that. So it looks to be like it's going to be really impressive. The drones are, the aerial drones that we know, but there's also going to be new aquatic drones, which is also pretty cool. Now, one thing that will be featured sort of alongside this show, and it's a little bit difficult for me to picture how exactly, but is something that Disney launched during this event on November 24th. And there's also a brand new episode of We Call It Imagineering up on YouTube specifically about this. They have a new robotic animatronic of Olaf. And you guys, it looks just like him. Looks like him, moves like him. It's just a little Olaf you can meet and interact with. If you haven't been following along, I posted some stuff on my stories and I reposted some stuff from Disney. So if you go over to my Instagram at Factor Nostalgia, you can still find it there. But it looks so impressive and sounds great and moves great. And I'm just blown away at the technology of all this, you guys. Like it's stunning. It really is. Apart from Paris, he will also make appearances in Hong Kong Disneyland because they also have the same Frozen ride that we have. Not entirely sure on the logistics of it all. How's it going to work? I'm assuming they only have the one. But yeah, I mean, as long as he's there, and I don't know how long he's going to be in Paris, I hope it's going to be the full year and not just for the summer season, because that would mean I'm going to miss it by the time I visit next year. But, who knows? Details haven't really been shared yet, but all we know is there's going to be a robotic Olaf, you guys. Now, this, of course, brings us to the world of Frozen. Essentially, Arendelle built inside a Disney park. You walk into the movie. And the big showstopper here is, of course, Frozen Ever After, the boat ride that is being built. It's a boat adventure, I should say. And it has some of the latest audio animatronics that Disney has to offer. So fluid motions, things like that. Expect something beautiful. There will be some projection mapping, but as far as I know, not on the faces, so I can deal with that. Now, the entire World of Frozen area is sort of set after the second movie. So we're already dealing with, Elsa being queen of the forest, essentially, in the north, and has her North Mountain situation going on, and Anna being queen of Arendelle. Which means that there is a royal encounter where you can meet both inside Arendelle Castle, with, of course, its own, photo ops and things like that. In terms of other characters that were specifically mentioned, one is Oaken, the guy who runs the little shop, the funny one. Mossy, one of the troll kids. And there is, making the step over to merch, there is sort of a character you can get called Runa. It's a little troll character. It's a baby troll that sort of comes in kind of shoulder bag situation. And you can carry it around. There's one spot you can buy this at, the Fjord View shop. And it reacts to stuff around the park. So there are certain hidden trigger points throughout the area. For example, you go on a ride and you say, oh, I'm so excited to go on this adventure. That's an example that they shared during the presentation. So that can happen. It can interact with other Runa the baby troll thingies. So if you walk past somebody else who's also carrying one, they could interact with each other. You know, she blinks, moves her ears. There's lights, stuff like that. And there's also some character interaction there, allegedly. So I'm very curious to see how this looks, and how much it's going to cost, honestly. Oh, something to note, especially again for the pass holders, is that I think the discounts on certain products from World of Frozen and stuff that has the logo work for Disney Adventure World, I'm not sure discounts will be valid on that. And I do know that this is for everybody. If you buy them, there's going to be limits to how many per purchase you can get, probably 2 or something. Now, we mentioned on a previous episode that the World of Frozen will also have a quick service option, and that the name of this thing will be the Nordic Crowns Tavern. This was very hard to find at the time, but now they're officially plastering the name everywhere, so looks like it's set in stone. It's going to be open for lunch and dinner, and in terms of food, they have sort of a customizable dining option. So it's not your regular quick service type thing. So it's essentially you pick your protein and what you want with it. There's going to be stuff like mashed potatoes, quinoa, things like that. Veggies, sauces, stuff like that. And I think for this one, they announced that it's just going to be, they don't have a separate kiddie menu. It's just going to be more of a portion size situation. So you can all sit down together, and it's really inspired by how families in the Nordics have dinner together. Of course, it's going to have like super cute desserts as well, because it's all going to be themed for Frozen. This is also, by the way, where I expect people to start complaining about, why isn't this in Epcot? Especially with the added benefit of the robotic Olaf that we're getting. But listen, you guys, we had to wait for this a very long time, okay? This park, Walt Disney Studios, is universally sort of, people agree that it's the worst Disney park. We're finally getting some good stuff. That's not to say I don't love the original Walt Disney Studios park, but on the whole, it wasn't the most popular one. We're finally getting some good stuff, and we waited for it a long time. Okay? And that's not even mentioning the fact that the main park hasn't had any new rides since 2006 or earlier, if you want to not count Buzz Lightyear. Okay? So let us have this. Now, in terms of other shopping opportunities, I did mention Runa the Baby Troll. Of course, there's going to be some other stuff. There's an Arendelle boutique, which is, I think, mostly focused on things like clothes, but also some decor type stuff, as well as that it contains an option where you can send postcards from an actual mailbox right there, right outside the shop, to anywhere in the world. And this is something that Disney has done for years. I think maybe even since the beginning, or for a very long time anyway. There's post boxes like this in the main park as well. But it's something cute you can do. People don't really send postcards anymore, but this is something you can do, and just, send it back home to somebody who didn't make it on the trip with you. It's cute. So this about covers everything that was announced on the 24th. They did briefly mention the Lion King area, but they're still working on that, and all they said was in a few years it'll open. Now, all the stuff that I mentioned that is coming is going to be like, you walk down Adventure Way and you turn slightly right, and that's where you're going to see everything. And the other side, if you look at the current, it's not really a full park map, but sort of like the concept map, you see that the left side looks pretty empty. And I think this is where, by the time the Lion King opens or is almost done, there's going to be a bunch of stuff there, probably. But right now it looks like traffic is mostly going to go around that one way, which means that for the nighttime show, which is a 360-degree show, I will recommend that you actually go to the quieter side, because chances are you're going to get a better view from there, because everybody's going to be on the right side of the lake. So this was a lot of information. There are still pictures coming out, official artwork and things like that. I will be sharing everything I can on Instagram, so make sure you follow along there at Factor Nostalgia. And while I have you, please do 3 things. First, Share this episode with somebody who's interested in what's happening in Disneyland Paris, somebody you want to go to Disneyland Paris with, somebody you want to convince about, look, this is going to be awesome, we should go. Or a Frozen fan, or somebody who's absolutely not a Frozen fan, so you know what to avoid. Whatever, share it with somebody you know. Second, please open whatever player you're currently using to listen to this and leave a rating and or a review. And third, while you're there, make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. Those are 3 relatively simple things you can do to support the podcast and help us grow. So, I hope you got excited about World of Frozen. I know I did. And if it wasn't for me being pregnant and due around the opening date of Disney Adventure World, I would probably try to squeeze in another trip. But as it stands, I'm going to have to wait till fall 2026. That's okay. Please, if you go earlier, do share your experience with me. I would love to know how you feel about all of this, if you feel like it's an improvement, because all in all, this park is going to double in size, which is kind of a big deal. So, share your trip reports, share your experiences with me. I am dying to know. But with that, I'm also just simply going to thank you for listening to today's episode, and I will catch you in the next one.